Hi Year 10, we're recapping adding and subtracting algebraic fractions today. So I've been given a question here with 1 over x plus 1 take away 1 over x plus 2. Now we know when we add and subtract normal fractions, they have to have the same denominator or common denominator. So we still need to have a common denominator in the case of an algebraic fraction. For some of these fractions, it might be that the common denominator is lower than multiplying both of them together. But if you can't spot what the lower common denominator is, just multiply both denominators together and it will simplify out at the end. So in this case, my common denominator is going to be x plus 1 multiplied by x plus 2. As with anything, we have to keep this in proportion. So if we're multiplying this denominator by x plus 2, we also have to multiply the numerator by x plus 2. So I'm multiplying both the top and the bottom by x plus 2. And with the other fraction, I would multiply this by x plus 1. So I'm going to have the numerator multiplied by x plus 1 and the denominator multiplied by x plus 1. When we add or subtract fractions, the denominator stays the same. So I'm just going to write my denominator as x plus 1, x plus 2. My numerator gets added or subtracted depending on the operation. So I have 1 times x plus 2, which is obviously x plus 2, and I'm taking away 1 times x plus 1, so I'm minusing x, and remember to keep an eye on the signs, because we're taking away x plus 1, it's actually x minus 1. Once we're at this point here, we can then simplify, so we have x plus 2 take away x, so we're going to cancel out those x's, and we have 2 minus 1, which is just going to be 1, so we have 1 over x plus 1 and x plus 2. Now this fraction is quite nice because it means we don't have to simplify anymore. We can tell that this is the simplest form because we just have a numerator of 1. In some cases, especially if you haven't spotted the lowest common denominator, you need to have a look here and see if you can simplify the fraction. Remember, simplifying the fraction, you have to divide by every single term. So don't miss out a minus x or a plus x just because it's convenient. Make sure you're checking every term off and that you can divide every part by that. So I have a second example here, and this time I want you to pause the video, have a look at the denominators and decide what the lowest common denominator of these two would be. Now as a hint, it's not going to be just the two multiplied together. We can do that if we're not sure, but in this case I want you to have a think and see what we come up with because it'll make it a lot easier when we go through it in the end. Okay, so we can see I factorised out the denominators in these cases. I've taken out a factor of x from both of these. So the denominator is now x multiplied by 1 minus x and x multiplied by 1 plus x. This means that they already have a common factor of x between them, so I only have to multiply both sides by the part that's missing. So if this is x multiplied by 1 minus x, I'm going to multiply it by 1 plus x to get a common denominator, and this side needs to be multiplied by 1 minus x. So my common denominator is x multiplied by 1 minus x, this part here, multiplied by 1 plus x, because that's just the only missing part. Now if we're going to solve through this, if we've multiplied this fraction here by 1 plus x, my numerator is now 1 plus x, and I have that common denominator running through x, 1 minus x, 1 plus x. And I've multiplied this fraction by 1 minus x, so I'm taking away 1 minus x, and I have that same denominator, x, 1 minus x, 1 plus x. And then from here, I can just simplify as I normally would. So 1 take away 1 is 0, x take away minus x is going to be 2x, so it's going to be 2x over this denominator here. Now, note we can't simplify that because we have these terms here which cannot be divided by x, so don't be tempted to divide by x by the whole thing.